And is it? Okay, that's fantastic. So, hello. Careful what you say. Yeah, I'm going to be very prudent. At least I will try my best.
Good.
So, well, hello, everybody. And thank you for joining this session about investing in tech in Latin America. We have a great group of panelists today. We have Cesar Aya. Cesar is graduated in business administration from Universidad de los Andes, an MBA from Said Business School, University of Oxford. He's the founder of T2M Capital and has more than 20 years of experience in technology sector in Latin America, the UK, and the US. During the past year, Cesar has developed narrow focus on early stage companies and has developed an investment portfolio in fintech, proptech, retail, agro, and pure technology platforms. We also have Simon Franco in this panel, who is partner and CEO of SITT, and he's founder also of Aken Capital. He's an industrial engineer from Universidad Javeriana in Colombia with an MBA from Manchester University School in the UK. He's an entrepreneur focused on strategic planning, business development, and project management. Has established more than 20 companies across Colombia, Panama, Brazil, UK, and US. Previous experience in global brands like Procter & Gamble, Renault, DHL, and more than 7 years running the family office and board member of the British and Columbia Chamber of Commerce. And finally, we have Massimiliano Sulpici, who is graduated in economics and political sciences and obtained an MBA in the Polytechnic of Milan. He's managing partner and founder of HSMI Corporate Advisory, where he has advised clients in infrastructure, fashion, real estate, and tech, totaling transactions for over 100 millions and fundraising over 50 millions. He currently serves as an advisor and board member of numerous healthcare and technology startups and growth stage companies. Well, as you can see, we have a panel with a fantastic and very impressive track record. And please let me introduce myself. I'm Carlos Sanchez. I'm a lawyer. I'm the lawyer of the group. I'm partner of the Duran y Osorio Abogados. I have a master's degree in telecommunication law, also an MBA. And I have been running the branch of Duran y Osorio Abogados for 11 years here in London. I'm in charge of the practice of technology in the firm, and also I work for the transportation and infrastructure practice, especially in project finance. Well, saying that, let's start with this conversation. And probably the best way to start is speaking about the context. Where are we? And where we are after this special year of strange lockdown and changes of habits. And I would like to ask you all, what do you think is the post-COVID situation in terms of technology and for the technology companies? What has been the impact of this virus, of this pandemic, for all the technology ecosystem? If you want, we can start with Massimiliano.
Thank you for having me. I think we are in much better position now in terms of technology. I mean, if there is something we can say good about the pandemic, there is nothing good except the improvement we've done in technology. We've 20 years ahead, and everyone understood how digital is vital more than ever. And yes, we know we can't stay without technology anymore. And we even understood that commuting is not that necessary anymore. You can still have a great productivity be home. And I mean, I had to be honest. I struggled so much to be home. we were talking before. In terms of how you manage your company, in terms of how you apply technology to your company, because we're talking about technology, it's been a great deal of understanding and applying what before, even 5-10 years was almost impossible. I can even imagine you have half of your workforce be home and still do the same job. Or I can in banking where the regulatory are so strong. But we managed very well. And now I'm even planning to have a lot of my guys be home. So why do you want to come to the city of London, wasting 2 hours per day? You can spend this time with your family, your kids. Okay, I think in terms of the step ahead, a big deal. In terms of balancing our life as well. And we understood how to pivot of this as well. We understood very much how to quickly analyze, how to quickly move, because I remember when everything started with 2000, it was March, it's more than 1 year already, time flies, and we all were panicking, right? Because there is no flights, there is nothing, the economy was completely destroyed. But a lot of companies made so much money because they understood that actually the opportunity was there. And yes, of course, you had to have a very knowledgeable understanding of how to apply technology, but this is what has been very helpful. We can't stay without. So technology, when today I can say is absolutely the winner. Indeed, with no doubt.
Thank you, Massimiliano. Simon, what's your opinion about that?
Thank you, Carlos. Yes, I wanted to, I totally agree with Massimiliano, and I wanted to add that COVID definitely was an accelerator in every term, in terms of technology, in terms of digitization, in terms of virtual services. And we have the example Massimiliano mentioned about home office for everyone. That's something that a year ago, especially in Colombia, they're more traditional, go to the office type of scheme, changed a lot. Also, in terms of services, public services, in terms of services for the citizens, governments are the service that governments are giving became very virtual as well. So I think we have a benefit. From all these bad situations, I think there's a benefit in the digital world. And I think there are a lot of services that are getting to the public that are more accessible. That it would take, 2 years, 3 years, in a normal development world. But now we have solutions in 3 months. Many aspects. Also, companies are moving forward to innovation. I think COVID pushed a lot of innovation in companies. They say that COVID can be the best CTO in a company, because that was the situation. You had no other option to give a new product to reach a new public that you won't have on the street. People are staying at home. So I think that in terms of technology, in terms of opportunity, it's a better world now. We have better technological services. We have more options that are benefiting, of the services that we're doing.
Very good. Cesar, do you want to add something in that point?
Certainly, and thank you very much. And building on Simon's point about government and on Massimiliano's point about the struggle that this has implied for our societies, I think the job that some governments are doing in terms of digitalizing some processes and in areas where it was not available before, even beyond citizen services. Processes where there was plenty of corruption, where lots of money was lost to people who just decided to take it and not use it in the best way. I think that is a great stepping stone towards building virtuous cycles in our economies and in our societies. We are able to demonstrate that we can deal with corruption or with money laundering in our emerging countries in Latin America, we will certainly have citizens starting to trust the governments, and probably we will have a better use of the resources, and then we will have back our credit qualifications, and we will have more stable currencies. So if all that happens, we will be in a couple of years, and that's thanks to the environment that COVID created.
Thank you, Cesar. You mentioned something that is very relevant. You mentioned credit rating, and although you all described a context that sounds like very positive for investing in technology. Now we have a more digitalized world, and there's a lot of appetite of new developments and new services. It's true that the COVID hit very hard. Basically, for most of the major emerging markets, the public debt is basically skyrocketing in this moment, and of course that has some consequences in the credit rating, in the exchange rate, and that might make more difficult investing in technology companies in Latin America. What's your view, Jonathan? What's your view about the economic context of Latin America for investing? We can start with Cesar, then you make the comment.
Okay. Well, I think we are under, yes, stressful circumstances. We've lost many SMEs many SMEs have just gone out of business. We have a very high unemployment, and that's a fact. But I think we've never seen such a boom in investment in early stage technology companies. It's a fact. And it's not just, and the reason why money is flowing into these companies, and you can see every day there's a new unicorn, there's a new company raising not $1 or $2 million in LATAM. They're raising 40, 50, 100 or more. That's driven by the fact that we are generating many early stage companies in many different industries, from agro to healthcare, education, finance, property, technology, security, you name it. So I think as a macro environment, it might be tough. The largest investors might struggle. That we might not be interesting, but in terms of the early stage companies, there's a lot of potential. So I see it happening for a while.
Good. Simon?
Yeah, I wanted to add to Cesar's point that we've seen recovery. The first trimester in Colombia, for example, we were growing. Economy was going good. We had 3 very good months. Economy was reactivating, business were reactivating. We were reopening a lot of things. And of course, we had this stroke in the end of April, and we are still suffering, and we are now in a new peak of the COVID, that it has slowed down a lot what we were doing. But that's, we can have a sense of what's going to happen in the long term. And I think the vaccination going at a good pace now, that we will have a second semester where we will have some recovery. Actually, last night, the minister was telling that the projection for Colombia is to grow 6%. So there are facts, as I was mentioning, there are facts that the economy in general, yes, we have an impact, yes, we have a situation today, but I think in the long run, we will have a good recovery. There are still good potential. Hospitality sector, that is a sector that was, I think, the one that most suffered the COVID, is getting, again, live. And people will demand those type of services and experiences a lot. They are accumulating a year and a half of staying home, so there are a lot of potential there. just to mention a sector, but also the startup ecosystem is growing a lot in Colombia. Brazil is huge at the moment. Mexico. So I think in the region there are a lot of opportunities in terms of the startups, and I think we have a sense of the recovery of the economy. And I think in the long run we will have good.
So you'll say, or you will say that we will continue seeing this boom, like Cesar mentioned, of new fundings, new unicorns. We in the last years we had SoftBank opening a new venture capital fund. Kasek, I think, opened as well a massive one. I think it was more than 100 million, and Clock Tower something like 25, 30 million. I don't remember. But so would you expect this as a trend for the next years? Massimiliano, how do you see that?
Oh, yes, I do. I mean, I would like to just make a distinction. If I had to invest in Latin America, exchange rate is by far my last thinking. I will never be fooled by exchange rate. There is too much politician. It's a lot of politics in exchange rate. In economics, which is very important because economics and finance, technology, all together, they work together. When it comes to exchange rate, I will be very careful. And so why should base my investment criteria on exchange rate? I will never do this at all. I see emerging market by far the best place where you can invest your money. And because if you invest in incumbent, if you do private equity, exchange rate, politics, they matter a lot. In venture capital is different, in my opinion. Venture capital reaction of if I invest in a Colombia-based startup, that's not only the market, right? That's just the beginning of the market. Probably the market will be all South America. And after maybe, I was talking to guys last year, they are based in Mexico. They are already selling furniture in America. So that's the beginning, just the beginning, and that's it. That's why for me, venture capital in emerging market is going to be trendy for the next 10 years. And I will be surprised if SoftBank is going to develop by 10 billion in emerging markets. Why? Because you need to take into account also, if I'm buying in emerging market because politics, because exchange rate, I'm buying a huge discount. If I'm smart enough on that discount, I already made my profit. Because again, if I invest in Mexico, Mexico is just a quarter. After I go to like 10 headquarters, and I'm going everywhere because that's what is scaling up. No? So I would be never poor. Actually, as I say, maybe if you invest in, let's say, B round in Mexico, with 10 million, you get a fair share of the company. And maybe in US, same company gets 0.5% because valuation are crazy, right? And again, when it comes to valuation, that's another long story. Valuation, when it comes to not emerging market, but emerging market like UK, US, even Europe, there is too much money, okay, too much. And we have venture capital fund, 10 billion, 20 billion. Now the difference between a buyout, which should be the bigger by far, and the venture capital is almost zero, right? We have the same money. So if I want to invest in your company, I need to deploy 50, 100 million. That's the valuation goes up, because I had to deploy the money. There's nothing I can do. So as Warren Buffett said, it's so difficult to invest 10 billion, 20 billion. Just few companies in the world that can afford to get 20 billion investment. It's right. I mean, and this for me, it's a very important point. So I'm very bullish when it comes to emerging markets. Not for now, not because of the pandemic, but because I do believe in Latin American, I don't know Africa. Africa I'll be shepherd for many, many reasons, but Latin American and Asia, except China, but China is something different, is going to be next. Because in West, we finish almost everything. It's very complicated to invest, and also prices are too high. And I mean, I spent some time on the trading floor with some friend of mine. I got 1 year sabbatic. I went to have fun with them trading night and day. It price everything in everything you do. Even if you go shopping or if you buy stock or if you invest in startup, what matters is price. Price in emerging markets are extremely good. I'm very bullish in this.
Yes.
Thank you, Maximiliano. Cesar.
If I may add something there, I think another element that will come to play are the institutional investors in LATAM. Institutional meaning pension funds and insurance companies, right? If you go back 10 years ago, an asset manager, a US-based asset manager that came to Colombia selling a private equity fund had to the insurance companies about what that was. What was private equity, right? And it took them 3 or 4 years just to educate them. But after that, the pension funds started writing $100 million to invest in their initiative. I think the same is happening with the early stage industry. These funds are starting, or the pension funds are starting about the returns that they could achieve by investing in early stage companies. And it will happen. It will be a matter of time when they start deploying more funds into local-based VC funds. Once they show some track, once they start closing their first funds, they will be able to invest in them. And that will be another source of funds to fuel this boom that we're talking about.
Thank you, Cesar. That sounds very interesting. I can see that both Massimiliano and you, Cesar, you're very bullish, as Massimiliano said, with Latin America, despite exchange rate, despite political stability, despite it seems that for technology companies the future is looking good. I wonder, how would you see the investment on the other way around, from Latin America to the UK? And I would like Simon to ask that question. How do you see the UK market from the Latin American perspective?
Thank you, Carlos. Well, for me, especially for me, it's a very interesting market. Actually, we are investing, our VC portfolio is almost 100% developed in the UK. We have more than 25 companies, startup companies in the UK, and it's very interesting. Comparing to Latin America, I mean, I agree with Cesar Massimiliano, huge opportunities. There are more than 600 million people, a lot of tech companies going around, a lot of tech penetration in Latin America. So I mean, the options are there. But in terms of market size, for instance, in 2019, investments in VC in Latin America was $4.5 billion. Last year in the UK, there were 15 billion only. So we are talking 3 times the market just in the UK. Also in the UK, we have last year, they had 7 new unicorns. The second country behind the UK was Germany with 2 unicorns. But for example, this Hopping, this platform we are using, was declared a new unicorn last year. So the opportunities there are very important. I think the deal flow in the UK has very good quality in terms of volume and in terms of the opportunities there are. And the industry is very well established. So Latin America, we still are very informal in many ways. In the UK, I mean, being London, central financial center of the world, there are a lot of VC funds, private equity firms, where you can, co-invest and you can get into a very interesting type of opportunities. Also, the UK, it's becoming international hub for many companies. And actually, many startups, Latin American startups, are looking to establish their headquarters office in London, for example. Um, so, um, so I think in terms of size, in terms of opportunity, in terms of the ecosystem, in terms of the how mature is the venture capital market, UK is a huge opportunity. If you are a Latin investor as myself, is not as huge as the US. You know, I mean, if you want to get into a startup in the US, you will need more than $1 million. In the UK, you can have some opportunities less than $1 million. So I think it's accessible, and again, I think there are huge opportunities. Being, geographically speaking, companies there have an international reach. They have Europe, they have Asia, they have also the world. So I think, I mean, and the numbers are there, as I told you. Most unicorns in Europe are based in London. Interesting cities as well. We mentioned London a lot, and if you rank in terms of big venture capital investment, London is by far number one. But there are other interesting cities in the UK, such as Oxford, Cambridge, and other ones like Edinburgh, Bristol, Manchester. So there are a lot of innovation going on there in many cities, not in London. So it's quite interesting. Also getting involved with universities. Of course, the universities and education in the UK is worldwide popular. And universities are doing an excellent work creating incubators and accelerators, offering early stage opportunities and developing early stage companies for investors and for entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for that. I would like to move from the context that I can see that you all of you are seeing a very good and a very positive context to a more specific question about sandboxes. One of the problems that we have with startups sometimes is that they are developing new products, new services. Sometimes are new services in finance, sometimes are new developments in telecommunications. And what happens is that they disrupt some of the markets. And sometimes the regulation is not ready for the inventions of the entrepreneurs. Sandboxes are probably a new idea or a new way to test regulation. Probably mainly in finance, so that specific products or services are tested with new regulation before they are allowed to go into the market, into full regulation. From your point of view, what's your opinion of these sandboxes? Are they useful? Are they not? And what would you recommend for the governments to conduct this type of initiatives? I don't know if Massimiliano would like to start.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I find sandboxes useful, yes, but it's still beginning for me, which means sandbox are mostly used by regulators, Bank of England, any kind of regulator they want to understand and predict where the market is going. Okay, so if I'm UK, FCA or the Bank of England, and I'm worried that some fintech company can disrupt the market and far behind them with regulations, I create my sandbox and welcome this guy to discuss. The problem is there is no discussion before. The problem is I'm the regulator, or maybe because I'm not that tech as you are, probably, I'm not that savvy. So I'm even scared to start talking to you because we don't talk the same language. And or because I'm so full of myself that I can decide everything. So I decide And when you apply and you work in, I will tell you, educate you how the market should be treated, right? Something similar. For me, that's wrong. That's a very wrong approach. What we should do is, okay, let's do different. And also because I saw set up a sandbox can go from 25K up to 1 million. That's a lot of money, okay? And for something that you don't know what's going to happen after. So I would rather do, okay, let's do different. Let's have a round table, okay? So what's the topic? The topic, okay, let's discuss with the main guys in fintech how they would like to approach this topic, okay? We defend the market, they defend the other side of the market. But sandbox today are market oriented. That's the market, that's the problem. To work in and we try to sort it out. To me, we should find something like a place like emerging market, like Latin America would be great, is actually, let's do different. Let's see where the problems are. For example, in fintech, inclusion, it will be great. Sandbox will be beautiful for inclusion, right? Let's see where the problems are and let's do something different. Let's have a round table with this guy that can solve this problem, okay? Instead of having a market-driven approach, you're having a opposite approach, which means problem setting and solving approach, right? This can be a good way to use. And also, they need to talk to, in London, there is such a great opportunity to create a new regulatory based on what the market actually needs to help to improve the business and improve the life of the people. So I see one way, which is for me is not correct. It is almost everywhere in Hong Kong. We talk about the financial center because sandbox is mostly, as you said, used by fintech. And now more than ever by crypto, because they have no idea how to handle crypto and blockchain. But the reality is that's funny. I mean, it would be nice to see in a round table this tech savvy 20 years old guy. She says, when I talk to this guy, I'm astonished how smart they are in this case, right? And 40, 50, 60 years old regulators in the Bank of England, right? That would be nice to see because I don't think they talk to each other at all. And maybe the 20 years old savvy blockchain crypto guy is far ahead. He's far beyond any. So it's not, I think it's very useful, but I think it has to be done in a different way. It has to be more talking to each other. They don't just give drivers. They need to follow them. And if after you finish, also because I saw sandboxes are not that used still. Innovation hubs, accelerator, they are much more used than sandbox. Because regulators is one thing. If I have a fintech company, regulation is okay, it's important, but it's not my business model, okay? So accelerator gives me much more than the sandboxes and as well innovation hubs, which is for me are the best way to go, innovation hubs. But, it's a way to talk to and try to handle the new technology. My believing is today technology, especially in fintech, is just too fast. Then they are too slow because there's a lot of bureaucracy as well. So, and I can't see, it's like having, beautiful Ferrari, which is the technology, and an old-fashioned car, which is still beautiful, but still slow to go together. Okay? This is the main problem. But yes, I do believe they're useful, but what they should apply the MVP concept, right? Instead of finish 2 years time creating a sandbox and after asking to the fintech applying, create 2 months MVP and with them go further and create the real sandbox. Because many sandboxes they're done. But when you open to apply, actually there is no one who apply that. So you spend 1 million for nothing, okay? If I create MVP with 25K, and after you go to the fintech guy, you go to Simon, for example, say, Simon, you have some fintech company, really good, that actually has some problem to solve. That's different how you should work together. Let's use MVP concept as well. But we are far away from this. Anyway, it's very useful.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Massimiliano. I don't know, Cesar, if you want to add anything on the point on the sandboxes.
Yeah, I agree. They're definitely useful, and it's something that must be applied somehow to enable new companies to emerge. But I think they fundamentally have a misunderstanding of how these might happen. As Massimiliano was just saying, I think a company usually proposes a path, and that's the lens later uses to evaluate them, and there is no flexibility on to change that path. And so I think it's fundamentally created from the regulator's comfort point of view, rather than enabling the regulator to understand what is being done with the consumer or with the end user. So I think the focus should be on transparency. How can the fintech new initiative provide all the information or access to the information as it's being processed or created, rather than kind of punishing a company for proposing a path and then this or concluding in the middle of the process that that was not the exact path they wanted to follow, that was slightly different, and then you're supervised under that lens, and it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't improve the proposition of some. So I think it should be more flexible, and it should promote transparency rather than propose a single path.
That's quite interesting, because I mean, you both mentioned that sandboxes are useful, and obviously they are useful because there's a lack of regulation for some services. But probably what we are diagnosing is that is required more open dialogue and probably more open view from the regulator's perspective. And I wonder if there are some areas, some services where regulators are more open to changes than others. At least I've seen more open mind from telecom regulators than from financial regulators that tend to be more conservative. But definitely that's something that regulators should take into account. Now, all of you both mentioned incubators and accelerators as a way to really improve investment in tech companies, and I would like Simon to comment on that. Probably what could be the role of the government, of the public sector, in these initiatives of incubators, accelerators, catapults. How can they help in the investment in tech companies in Latin America?
Yeah, well, I think they definitely should get involved. I mean, there's comparing the UK government is very much involved, as you mentioned, in catapults and in different areas. So I think governments in Latin America should follow the same path on different areas. And, for instance, I'm very much involved in mobility and infrastructure and transit and transport. That's something that a lot of universities in Colombia are getting ideas, are implementing, MPVs, as Massimiliano mentioned, and I think that at the end it will become. I mean, it's better return for the government. It's better environment for investors. So I think that government should support this kind of initiative, making partnerships with the private sector, making partnerships with the universities and with different agencies that can be created and that are created now. We have now the orange economy in Colombia, for example, that are involved in encouraging this entrepreneurship systems and stuff like this. Now there are many incentives in Colombia, for example, that would allow, for example, tax exemption for startups. If you do the checklist of some requirements, and this should be done from direct tax relief, and also through partnerships, as mentioned, that are going in the case of the UK, very close. The government very much involved in some universities, and universities and I know in Colombia it's evolving, but I think we have some path to go, and I think we have a huge potential. So I think it should get involved. Government should get involved. Government should support this kind of.
Thank you, Simon. We have 5 minutes before we are finishing this conversation, and I would like to end with a topic that Simon just mentioned, and it's tax. In the last weeks, in the last months, we have had lots of discussions about taxing tech companies, and at the same time, tax reforms in different countries that are facing, the bills of the COVID, and they need to increase their revenue, their fiscal revenue, to pay debt, and basically to pay for all the support they're offering to businesses and for citizens, which is a difficult situation. But at the same time, is very often mentioned that tax should be used as a tool to foster investment in new companies, in tech companies, as Simon just mentioned. What's your opinion on that? Should be taxing used as a tool to foster investment in tech companies, or tax should be more transparent, more simple, and probably the same, or basically roughly the same model for all companies? Cesar, can start with you.
I think that rather than focusing on these traditional mechanisms, I think we should look outside and learn from the good lessons. And I think a great example is the EIS and SEIS schemes in the UK, which came to fruition after the financial crisis of the 2008 and 2009. So I think it happened around 2010, maybe, and it created some tax benefits for investors, and that might generate some controversy, but it is a fact that millions of capital poured into technology companies in the UK, and particularly in London, due to that measure. And we should really consider it in Colombia or the LATAM countries if we want to incentivize from local investors, because I feel we still have very few investors that are willing to support our local companies. So if we want to increase that base, perhaps that's a good tool to consider.
Thank you, Cesar. Massimiliano, any comments on taxes?
I mean, I agree. UK is a good example. ESS, tax release in terms of giving to the taxpayer, if they want, the possibility to invest in startups, it's absolutely fine. I don't see anything negative, only positive. The point is, I mean, if you have 5,000-10,000, it will be difficult for you to invest in startup. But this applies to the people who already have the money. So if we are smart enough to create some kind of crowdfunding, the tax release will be much better. I mean, I do believe everyone should have the opportunity to invest in technology, because, I mean, why a guy who earns 2,000 per month can do this? Well, if we create some kind of tools, which is based on my knowledge, nobody did, right? Allowing everyone to invest in kind of tax release crowdfunding structure, this will be something new and very welcome. Taking tax from taxpayer I don't know, setting up 2-3 investment vehicles, investing money, I can't say it's right for me, maybe not, because you know, in the end of the day, I'm a taxpayer, and it should be used probably in a different way, more infrastructure and this kind of stuff, not really in technology, unless technology is welcome to improve the life of it. When it comes to tax, it's a very difficult topic to discuss. But in terms of tax relief, I do believe this is something that should be done from any country, from Latin America, Europe. UK is doing very well in this. Also in Europe, a few European countries are doing almost the same. And yeah, I mean, when it comes to paying tax for big tech, I mean, they can afford to pay any tax they want. So this is something that has to be done. If they are the one who avoid tax, we should pay tax. If Amazon is don't pay tax and Google, I mean, nobody is going to pay tax at all. That's not fair. But I mean, I do believe the current U.S. administration will do its job very soon. I think so. That's not Donald Trump. I mean, that's opposite way we are now. So, I think, yes.
Carlos, I wanted to add also your comment on you mentioned simple. Is it simple? And that's an issue we have in the region because taxes are very complex. I mean, the scheme in Colombia is very complex. The scheme in Brazil is very complex. So I think that's a barrier. And that's why many investors or many companies are establishing their structure in Delaware. You know, they have a straightforward, a very simple scheme, standard scheme that are making, that the investments go through a vehicle outside of the region. So that's a thing that I think you should have. I mean, we should have to take in mind to make simpler schemes.
Yeah, definitely. Simplicity is always better. If it's simple and transparent, it will be for the government. It will be easier to raise the money they would like to raise. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Massimiliano, Simon, and Cesar, for your participation in this panel. It was great having this discussion with you. As you can see in the chat. In the chat column, Tanya is reminding us that in 5 minutes we have the other panel about the potential impact of regulation on the fintech companies in Latin America and the UK. And we also invite you to visit the booths that we have in this platform. Well, thank you very much, all of you, and hopefully next year we can see you all, probably not in this platform, probably in person. That will be very nice. And thank you, all of you, for attending the panel. It was a pleasure.
Thank
Have
you.
a good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Carlos, Massimiliano, Cesar.
Ciao, Simon. Carlos. Bye, Massimiliano.
Bye-bye.